criminal court session on a Saturday, the murder trial for Karmelo Anthony. And today, a surprising shift. The state is done with their portion of this trial. Anthony's defense team began presenting witnesses and testimony today. That teenager is the former Frisco ISD student accused of stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf. He also a student of that school district at a high school track meet back in April of 2025. That youngster, Austin Metcalf, he died from those injuries. The prosecution over 3 days called more than 20 witnesses, most of them teenagers, some of them actually crying while testifying. Today, our Don White, covering the trial, reports the final witness from prosecutors was an adult who identified Austin Metcalf's official cause of death.
Some of the most gripping testimony was from the medical examiner's office here at the Collin County Courthouse. The judge warned the courtroom this information would be graphic, and that is when Austin Metcalf's family left the room. Collin County Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Elizabeth Ventura testified Metcalf was stabbed through the heart. She described the wound as gaping, 2.5 inches in length, and not survivable. Prosecutor Bill Werski showed 4 autopsy photos to the jury. Several jurors appeared emotional and put a hand over their mouth. 18-year-old Eddie Parra, a teammate of Metcalf at Memorial High School, also took the stand. Prosecutors asked who he noticed in their tent. He said Karmelo Anthony, and he thought it was weird because teams are supposed to stay in their own tents. Parra broke down on the stand when describing the stabbing, saying he noticed blood and a hole in Metcalf's chest, and Metcalf started screaming for help. The prosecutor asked Parra if the case was about race or self-defense. He said no. Werski went on to ask who was wrong that day. Parra said Karmelo and that he didn't have a reason to stab Metcalf. Another witness said he didn't believe the stabbing was in self-defense, saying that's lethal force against non-lethal force. The defense called Centennial High School track coach Adam Linwood to the stand. He said kids often go into other teams' tents to mingle. Prosecutors asked if an athlete should have a knife at a track meet, and the coach said no. Anthony's defense team argued he acted in self-defense and says at the time of the fatal stabbing, Frisco ISD had no policy barring athletes from going into other teams' tents. Anthony faces 5 to 99 years in prison if convicted, or a life sentence. The trial will resume at 9 a.m. on Monday with more defense witnesses. In McKinney, Don White, CBS News, Texas.
And all right, welcome in, everybody. Welcome back in to Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media channel. Hopefully everybody can hear me here. And tonight we're going to go into just a little bit of review of what happened over this past week in the Karmelo Anthony case. I don't want to waste too much time. We're going to get into it. We have a lot to do tonight, a lot to go through tonight. So let me just pull up my website. I did kind of a summary on my website today. Basically took all of my last live streams of the summary, all my summary wrap-ups every day that we've done over the last 3 days of testimony, kind of combined it all into one article today. We're going to go through that. And then also Sarah Fields has been posting on her X account and giving some recap as to what she's been seeing live in court. I want to get to that. I want to get to some of the other things that have been happening outside of court. So let's get into it. Before we do that, mods, as we know, we have respectful chat. If you need to time people out, that's fine. But I want people to have their own speech and their own thoughts. But if it just gets too crazy, we're going to have to time you out for a little bit. And if it gets too crazy, mods will bounce you. All right, let's get into this. We got a lot to get into. Karmelo Anthony murder trial, week 1 recap, self-defense fight, and the he was jumped theory. All right, I made this beautiful graph today, too. It was very nice. Very nice graph. Okay, the Karmelo Anthony murder trial has quickly become a case more about just what happened under the track tent. It is now a courtroom battle over self-defense, provocation, witness credibility, and online misinformation. Sorry. At the center of this case is a fatal stabbing of a 17-year-old Austin Metcalf during a Frisco ISD track meet. Karmelo Anthony is accused of stabbing Austin once in the chest after a confrontation at the Memorial High School team tent. The defense is not simply arguing that nothing happened. The defense is arguing that Anthony acted out of fear after being physically confronted. That makes the central question for the jury very clear. Was Karmelo Anthony reasonably defending himself from an immediate threat of serious bodily injury or death, or did he provoke a confrontation and respond to a non-deadly force with deadly force? And we're going to talk about the Texas law again tonight. Janelle, nice to see you. Just to let you know, we got the super chat goal there at the top of the chat. 5 super chats in 2 hours would be great. If you want to also contribute, I have Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo. You can click that link at the top of the chat to support the channel tonight. All right, going in, day 1, jury was seated, opening statements, and the surveillance video. Day 1 sets the entire trial. I look at it as day 5. I'm saying like day 5 was day 1 because we've already been, jury selection, but we'll call it day 1 here. Day 1 set the entire framework of the trial. The prosecution opened by presenting the case as a senseless and unjustified killing. Their theory is that Anthony was under the team tent and had been asked to leave, refused, escalated the encounter, and had his hand in or near his backpack and ultimately used a knife after non-deadly physical contact. The defense told a different story. Their argument is that Anthony was smaller in the crowd in a crowded and chaotic tent, confronted by larger athletes, warned Austin not to touch him, and then reacted in split second in a moment of fear. A major focus on day 1 was the surveillance video. Prosecutors used the video to help establish the timeline, the movement around the tent, and the scattering of after the stabbing, and Anthony leaving the area. And if you're first here on my channel, if you know, I have a little bit of stutter, and I also have a little dyslexia. So reading, sometimes my brain kind of jumbles words up. So just to let you know. And Anthony leaving the area, but the video is not perfect evidence. It reportedly has no audio. It does not clearly show every movement under the tent and does not fully answer what was said or what Anthony believed in that moment. So we had day 2. First responders, body cam, the knife, the backpack, and teen witnesses. On day 2, one of the most important days because the evidence began cutting directly into several online narratives. First responders testified about Austin's condition after the stabbing. According to the trial recap packet, testimony described Austin as gray, not breathing, without a pulse, and in extreme distress. The testimony made the severity of the stabbing clear to the jury. The body cam and officer testimony also became central. Anthony allegedly made statements after being denied, including words to the effect of, "I'm not alleged, I did it." While also saying Austin put his hands on him and being warned not to. The statement is important because it helps both sides. For the prosecution, quote, "I did it," sounds like an admission. For the defense, quote, "He put his hands on me." And I want to go back to this too, about the theory of, Karmelo. Well, no, I'm saying Karmelo. The theory that people have been putting out there that Karmelo Anthony was jumped. And I go back to the initial arrest report. I go back to the initial statement and facts of the case, or statement of the case. If he was jumped by multiple people, why did he not say the first time he came in contact with an officer or the security guard, why did he not say they put their hands on me? He said he put his hands on me. And this also is on body cam, people. This is on body cam. So we've got to get rid of that narrative. That didn't happen. Your theory, your rumors are gone. They're dead. Game over. Not being used anymore. But for the viral online theory that Anthony was jumped by several boys, the statement creates problem. The alleged language was singular. He put his hands on me, not they jumped me. The knife and backpack also became major issues. Witness described Anthony having his hand in or near his backpack before the stabbing. The prosecution can argue that shows readiness or escalation. The defense can argue that it shows fear or defense posture. The jury will have to decide which interpretation is more believable. Now we jump to day 3. Day 3, state rests, medical examiner testimony, direct verdict denied, and defense begins. And day 3 was a major turning point. The prosecution rested after presenting 21 witnesses. After that, the defense moved to a direct verdict, essentially asking the judge to end the case before it went to the jury. The judge denied the motion, meaning the case would continue and the jury still had evidence to weigh. And a lot of people asked about that. I reached out to my lawyer friend, Nan Gallagher, and I said, hey, this is pretty typical. She said, this is pretty typical in cases. And I remember, and thinking back, I covered the Karen Reed trial here in the state of Massachusetts for almost 3 years. And I remember in trial 2, the defense, I believe this went to a direct verdict as well, too, and it was denied. So it's pretty typical in cases. So the medical examiner testimony was one of the most strongest moments for the prosecution. The recap packet notes that the wound penetrated Austin's heart and was described as not survivable. That matters because this is not only just about whether there was a fight or a push, it's about whether the response, a knife to the chest, and the legally reasonable and immediate necessary. After the state rested, the defense began calling witnesses to reframe the tent issue. Their witnesses tried to show the track meets are relaxed. Athletes sometimes move between the tents, and students may mingle with other athletes from other schools. That helps the defense soften the argument that Anthony had absolutely no reason to be under the memorial tent, but the prosecution brought back the focus to the knife. Even if athletes sometimes visit their tents, that does not explain why a student had a knife at a school track meet. And I think this is going to be one of the biggest problems for Karmelo Anthony and his defense. Why are you bringing a knife to an area that you're not supposed to be bringing a knife? You're not supposed to be bringing a knife to a track meet, and you're certainly not supposed to have it concealed in a backpack under a tent. Okay, going to the he was jumped theory. The he was jumped theory claim is one of the loudest online narratives surrounding this case, but the courtroom testimony described in the recap packet does not support the broad viral version of that claim. The online theory has taken several forms. It was that Anthony was jumped by 4 boys. Then some versions shifted to 2 boys. Other versions focused on Metcalf brothers physically confronting him. Another version simply treats any push or touch as being jumped. But the evidence described far supports something narrower. There was a confrontation. Anthony was asked to leave. There was a verbal back and forth. Austin made physical contact. Anthony had his hand or near and in his backpack, and Anthony stabbed Austin once in the chest. With that, what the evidence does not support so far is a 4-on-1 beating, a mob attack, or multiple boys physically jumping. Anthony's inside the tent. The recap packet also notes that at least one witness account does not clearly support Hunter Metcalf being physically involved in the divisive, I'll get this out, contact. Prosecution versus defense, core trial battle. The trial is really about how the jury interprets the same core facts. The prosecution wants the jury to see provocation and disproportionate force. Anthony was under another team's tent, refused to leave, used warning language, and his hands was in or around his backpack, and he responded to a push or a touch with a knife to the chest. The defense wants the jury to see fear and immediacy. Anthony was smaller, physically first contacted in a crowd environment and reacting in split-second moment after warning Austin not to touch him. Now we go back to the witness and the evidence buckets. The witness testimony is important because different witnesses may vary on details while still agreeing on the general structure of the event. Anthony's still under the tent. He was asked to leave. There's a verbal escalation. Austin made physical contact, and Austin was stabbed. Let's see. The packet organizes evidence into some helpful witness buckets, including team witnesses, coach, trainers, police body cam evidence, knife recovery, first responders, and medical examiners, and the defense track meet witnesses. The bottom line is this. The Karmelo Anthony trial is not simply about whether Austin Metcalf was stabbed. It was about whether the stabbing was legally justified. Days 1, 2, and 3 sharpened that battle lines. Day 1 gave jurors the completed stories, murder versus self-defense. Day 2 introduced some of the most important evidence, including first responders, body cam statements, teen witnesses, the knife, the backpack testimony. Day 3 brought the state's case close and added powerful medical examiner testimony and opened the door for the defense to reframe the tent as part of a looser track and meet environment. But the biggest public narrative that Karmelo Anthony was jumped by multiple boys has not been supported by the courtroom evidence described so far. What has been supported is the confrontation, verbal escalation, and the physical contact by Austin. The jury has now decided whether the physical contact made deadly force reasonable and immediately necessary. This case should be judged by the evidence, the testimony, the video, the body cam, the knife, the medical evidence, and the law, not social media rumors, race narratives, and online noise. And of course, these are the folks that I've been graciously been able to follow through this trial because, as you know, we have no video, we have no audio. And I'm going to call out a couple of people here. CBS Dallas 11, JD Miles, independent journalist Sarah Fields, and Daily Mail Marianne Martinez. Great reporting. Excellent. JD Miles the other day was killing it. Absolutely killing it. Okay. And if you want to read that on your own time, you can go to ltlmedianews.com and I'll drop the link in the chat and you can read through the graphs. I'd go through the graphs, but it's going to take too long. That's the link there. All right, let's go to what has been happening outside of court. Let's go here. And this is from Tamara Neely. Let's see what she has to say and see what was going on outside of court on Saturday.
Sis, I got a question for you. You seen the video? Please don't put that in my face. You better ask these people who I am. Put that shit in my face.
Yes, sir. I won't be putting that in your face.
No, because it ain't gonna end well.
Standing here. It's a nice sidewalk. That's why I'm standing here.
Okay, and then what do you believe in? Do you believe in?
Yeah, I believe in an impartial justice system based on facts and merit, and I hope that's what gets evaluated in the case today, or in
So
ongoing.
if the shoe was on the other foot and it was Austin that killed Karmelo, would you feel the same way? I just asked that guy over there. Would you feel the same way that everybody should get what they deserve? It's not a racial thing?
Absolutely. In fact, there was a case recently in Wise County. A FedEx driver murdered a child.
Yeah, I see.
He was found guilty.
Yeah.
He was found guilty and sentenced to death, and that's the outcome I want.
Okay, so you guys are for justice. This has nothing to do with your race, skin color. You guys are for justice. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Karmelo. Do you have any black friends? Karmelo.
Not that I can think of, no.
Okay.
Is that a requirement?
No, it's not. I'm just asking the question because that's what normally the white folks go to. I got black friends. He did that over there. I'm just asking. Okay. You ever dated a black woman?
No.
Would you date a black woman?
Not my type, no.
What's not her type?
I'm just not
You
attracted.
scared of fat asses? You scared of fat asses? You scared of fat asses?
It's just not my type.
Okay.
No, and I don't, and I hope I'm not saying this, you know, in these extreme tense situations, you can always find a little bit of comedy. Someone will, even though you have very opposing sides here, we can see it, very opposing sides. And then there's a little bit of comedy to break the tension. And this does happen. I thought that was kind of funny. She said, "Are you afraid of fat asses?" But there's always, you know, there's clearly two different sides here, you know, and it gets crazy. But let's listen here.
There you go. Fuck that shit. Justice for Karmelo. Justice for Karmelo. He wasn't sitting over there minding his business. And that's what they didn't know. They trying to dehumanize his child like he wasn't sitting over that table minding his business. He was not aggressive. He was not an aggressor. He was minding his damn business when the boys came up to him.
Free the cloud. Free the queen. Karmelo Anthony will walk free. Free the cloud. Free the queen. Karmelo Anthony will walk free. Free the cloud. Free the queen. Karmelo Anthony will walk free. Free the cloud. Free the queen. Karmelo Anthony will walk free. Free the cloud. Free the queen. Karmelo Anthony will walk free. Free the cloud. Free the queen. Karmelo Anthony will walk free. Free the cloud. Free the queen. Karmelo Anthony will walk free. Free the cloud. Free the queen. Karmelo Anthony will walk free. Free the cloud. Free the queen. Karmelo Anthony will walk free. Free the cloud. Free the queen. Karmelo Anthony will walk free. Free the cloud. Free the queen. Karmelo Anthony will walk free.
Yeah, I have, and that's what I've said here all along too, is that, this case isn't about, and just Untwisted Tragedies checking in. Nice to see you here. She said, this case isn't about race thing. As I said earlier, it's about the right and wrong. Karmelo took a life. Our system says that is murder, regardless of your skin color. And I completely agree with that. And that's been, the theory here. And there's just been a lot of false rumors out there online that have been put out there. And there's been a lot of really great people that are setting the record straight too. This is about the law. It's about right and wrong. And unfortunately, you have one kid that is dead. You have one kid that's possibly that has ruined his life for the rest of his life. You have parents that are going to lose their children because, Karmelo Anthony may go to prison for the rest of his life. Austin Metcalf is obviously not coming back. Now, what does that do? That trickles down to the community. Think of all those people that were at that event that day that had to go through that and see that. All the kids that were traumatized, all the adults that were there that were traumatized. We're hearing adults in court crying. There was a hardened soldier that was there that helped Austin Metcalf, and he cried on the stand, and he had been deployed and been through war, and just, this is tragic. And this is going to spill through the community forever now. Like, this doesn't go away. And again, it's affected a lot of lives, and the whole situation is absolutely tragic for everybody. It's tragic for everybody. All right, let's keep playing and see what was going on outside court the other day. Again, this is Tamra.
Ma'am, what brings you out here today?
My name is Queen 88. I'm a blogger. I blog on everything. I actually, when this case started last year, I did break the news and break the case.
Oh, wow.
And so what brings me out is I'm a little on the fence.
Okay.
Like, of course, you want somebody to go down for doing something. I'm a mother before I'm anything. Before I was black, white, whatever, I'm a mother.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand where Austin parents, how they feel losing the son, but then I got to understand on the flip side.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I teach my kids violence is a no-go. Because you can't tell somebody how to fight at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Violence is a no-go. So I'm kind of on, I'm not gonna say, I'm kind of on like both sides. As a mother, I hurt because she lost her son, but then as a mother over here, better minds than yours.
Think about this energy, man.
So,
it's different, ain't it?
That's
basically you're basically trying to be nuanced about the situation.
Yeah, I'm neutral because I can see on both sides. I'm neutral. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see on both sides. She lost her son. I don't want to go through that. But then on top of there, you could have did something to my son. So it's like a catch-22 kind of.
I see.
At the end of the day, nobody gets justice because he going through what he going through. He's innocent, and then the other dude, he's gone. So at the end of the day, nobody can get no justice.
I think a lot of the theory in this too is that I hear, a lot of the Karmelo supporters. And that's everybody from all walks of life. And I'm hearing this from everybody is like the whole thing like, oh, well, he shouldn't have touched him. He touched him and found out. Like, he fucked around and he found out he touched him. Just because you touch someone, and I want people to understand this because I'm going to pull the law up here in a minute. We'll get a little bit more into this. It per Texas law, it has to be equal force. If I push you or put my hand on you, you have every right to push me and put your hand on me. If I slap you, you can slap me. If I punch you, you can punch me. If you have a knife, I have a knife. We go at it. You have a gun. That's the way Texas law works. It doesn't allow that you touch me and I take a knife out and then just stab you in the heart. It doesn't work that way. That's not how life and society works. And if it does in your neighborhood or in your sphere, I feel bad for you. And this is the thing that I have been kind of posing to people about that comment that, people have been commenting on my videos and they're saying, well, he touched him. He had every right to do. So does that mean that if let's just say you touch someone, does that give them the right to take out a knife and plunge it into your heart? Think about that. Just think about that a little bit. What if this was you? What if what if you walked over me and you touched me or you pushed me on my shoulder? That just allows me the right to take a knife out and end your life, stab you in the heart. Does that make sense? Doesn't make any sense. Come on, let's be reasonable here. Let's be reasonable. All right, here we go.
Either way it go, everybody hurts. Everybody's losing. Either way it go.
So what do you think the outcome's going to be here? What do you know
He
for?
has an all white jury. They're definitely going to hang his ASS. I know you're. They're going to hang him. Point blank, they're gonna.
And that's possible that they do, but that's based on the law. That's based on the law, not because of his race. It's based on the law, people. The law. I got it right here. The laws. We're going to go over it in a second. It's based on the law. All right, here we go.
Why do you think that is?
It's an all-white jury. We see it all the time. We always talk about, maybe it's a maybe. It's never going to change. We always been at the bottom of the totem pole. That's never going to change unless you get up and move out. But I don't see him with a not guilty verdict. I don't. But if he is guilty, at least give him 10 years with the possibility of parole. Because he's facing 5 to 99. Give him at least 10. So he can still do half and then still come up for parole and still continue on with his life. So if we can't get what we want, I'm willing to say, okay, y'all gave him that, give him less time.
Sis, I got a question for you. You seen the video? Please don't put that in my face. You better ask these people who I am. Put that shit in my face.
Yes, sir. I won't be putting that in your face.
No, because it ain't gonna end well.
He don't play.
Oh, okay.
They gonna ask them who I am.
Yeah, I know.
Put that shit by me.
Okay, yes, sir. We won't be doing that. All right.
It's okay. He's very passionate.
Okay. That's all right.
He's
Passion
very
is.
passionate.
I get it.
Black Panthers. See what they are
Black
doing.
Panthers.
Oh.
That's what I am.
He fights for us.
Media.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's how you spin shit on us.
Yes, sir. I won't
I
be.
don't fuck with none of them. Ain't
Okay.
nobody out here I won't let happen.
Okay.
But I feel like
All
if
right.
they were to do that, I don't want it to
I'm saying,
happen.
if you look at the video, your whole mindset would change. I've seen the
Wait, the video of what actually
This is the
happened?
lie.
The video of what happened?
He sees the video, but see, we
Okay.
ain't. So all we can do is hope.
Y'all haven't had access to
We
it.
haven't had
That's why
access
y'all
to
ain't know the narrative.
Okay.
I've seen it.
Okay, you've seen the video.
Okay.
Once you see the video, then you'll realize.
Your whole mind frame will change.
Everything changed.
Okay, so let's just say going off based off what we seen,
Mm-hmm.
I do believe it was a self-defense thing.
Okay.
But I'm
So I just want to clarify. The video literally doesn't show much. It doesn't show much. It shows them going to the tent. From what we heard, it's very blurry. It shows the amount of time that people were under there, and it literally just shows Karmelo Anthony running from the tent. That's it. It shows them go in. There's like 2 minutes, and then it shows Karmelo Anthony running from the tent, and then that's it. So I don't know what video he saw. And from court testimony, that's what's been described to us, what I just literally said. And it would be great, but I know they can't, to quell all of that, just release the video. I mean, we're going to see it at some point after this trial. I'm sure Discovery is going to get out right away. Well, maybe not because of appeals, but at some point, the Discovery is going to get out there. Let me just pull this up here while we have a pause. A false memory, thank you so much. Says it astounds me how race overshadowed in felony murder, a felony murder crime. If race reversed absolutely 100%, the same outcome would be justice. On another note, I would 100% date a black woman, and this case is 100% tragic. Thank you so much, A False Memory, for the $10. Love that chat. I appreciate you for being here. If you haven't subbed up, please sub up to my channel. I see you as a new chatter here, and it's nice to see. And if everybody hasn't subbed up, please sub up. All right, let's get back to this, and then we'll go to some other videos about what's going on down out in front of the courthouse. Here we go.
I'm not God. I can't tell you what's gonna happen. I'm not a tarot card reader. I ain't no reader. But if it does happen, because due to it being an all-white jury and he does end up getting time, we can pray for the best, expect the worst. 10 years. 10 years, because you can do 5 or 85% of your time and still get out. So that's how I feel.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. And let's just do this again. Let's just do this. You know, I want people to express their opinions. If it gets to any racial stuff or hate or anything like that, that's when we time people out. I don't see any timed out messages. I'm not seeing messages being withheld. I don't see any being withheld. I'm looking way up in the top of my chat right now. I haven't seen one timeout, Karen. I haven't seen any timeouts. My mods haven't timed anybody out. I'm not seeing it. And I am very truthful. I'm not seeing it. There's nothing. I went all the way back to the top of the chat. No one's been timed out yet. No one's been deleted. And we want people to express their opinion here. We just got to keep it clean. And if it gets crazy, then we time people out. But to be honest with you, I've looked and I haven't seen anything. But thank you for calling that out. All right, so let's move on here. And that channel, if you are interested, her name is Tamara Neely. I'm going to drop her link in the chat. Give her a sub up. She's been outside of court giving live streams throughout the day. That's her channel there. All right, I want to go back to this real quick before I get off this. Let's look at Texas law, okay? I'm going to do a quick kind of Cliff Notes version of it. And this is what I want people to understand, that it is about the law itself. It's probably going to be a little hard for you guys to see. All right, hang on. Let me boost this up a little bit here. Let me boost this up. Okay, that's better. Okay. We'll just show that. I hate how like it shows the grid at the top, but this is probably going to be the best that we can do. All right. So in Texas, someone putting their hands on you can give you the right to use force to protect yourself, but it does not automatically give you the right to use deadly force. Texas separates it into two big categories: regular force and physical defense. Under Texas law, Penal Code 9-31, a person may use force when they reasonably believe it is immediately necessary to protect themselves from another person, use or attempt to use of a unlawful force. So if someone shoves, grabs, hits, or tries to physically attack you, Texas law may allow you to use reasonable force to stop it. And that is this is all Texas statute. But the keywords are reasonable, immediate, necessary, and to the degree necessary. In plain English, you can defend yourself, but the response has to match the threat. You look at deadly force is a much higher bar. Under Texas Penal Code 9-32, deadly force is only justified if you are already justified in using force under 9-31 and you reasonably believe deadly force was immediately necessary to protect yourself from someone else using use of an unlawful deadly force, or to stop certain serious crimes like murder, aggravated kidnapping, sexual assault, robbery, or aggravated robbery. Texas defines deadly force as force intent known or capable of causing death or serious bodily injury. So, for example, if someone merely puts their hands on you, shoves you, or punches you, that may justify you pushing them away, blocking, restraining, or fighting back with reasonable force. But it does not automatically justify stabbing, shooting, or using deadly force unless the facts show you reasonably believe you were facing death, serious bodily injury, or one of those serious crimes. And let's go to this point. I want to go back to this point. But that does not automatically justify stabbing, shooting, using deadly force unless the facts show you reasonably believe you were facing death, serious bodily injury, or one of those serious crimes. Via witness testimony, inside that tent, Karmelo Anthony was egging on Austin. Multiple people testified to that. And while he was egging him on, said it 5 times. Touch me and see what happens. Touch me and see what happens. Go back and read the testimony, or go back and watch my show last night. We went through this. Does that to you sound like he was in immediate fear of his life? Does that reasonably sound to you that he felt he was in immediate fear in his life? Touch me and see what happens. I'm sorry. If I feel like I'm in immediate fear of my life, my fight or flight is going to kick in. And most of the time, flight is going to happen. I'm going to try to get away as far as I can from the threat immediately. And then the fight comes in. If someone chases you, tackles you, then your natural instinct kicks in and you fight. And I want to make that point so people understand that. In 3, Texas has no duty to retreat, but it does not mean anything goes. Texas law says a person generally has no duty to retreat before using force or deadly force. They had the right to be there, but did not provoke the confrontation and were not engaged in criminal activity. But that only matters after the force itself is legally justified. Stand your ground does not turn to a shove into an illegal excuse to use deadly force. Words alone are not enough. Texas law also makes it clear that force is not justified by verbal provocation alone. Touch me and see what happens. Touch me and see what happens. So insult, trash talk, threats with immediate physical danger, or someone mouthing off generally does not justify physical force by themselves. So the bottom line is this. If someone puts hands on you in Texas, you may have the right to defend yourself with reasonable force, but deadly force requires a much stronger showing in an immediate, reasonably belief that you were facing deadly force, serious bodily injury, or one of those serious crimes listed in the statute. So the question is not just, did he put his hands on me? The real question is, what level of force was used or threatened, and was the response reasonable and immediately necessary? And that's what the jury is going to have to decide after they hear all of the testimony in this case. All right, I think I had another super chat that came through. Just want to get to this. NH Dude, thank you so much. I appreciate it. He said, $20. LTL, keep up the great work. This is my last super chat to one of the best. Take care. Time focus on more soul rejuvenation. Stay the course. Thank you so much, Steve. I'm sorry to see you go. I hope that you'll come back at some point and watch. I do appreciate you being here. You're a friend of mine offline, and sad to see you go, but I get it. You gotta take care of your mental health, your health, and all of your other ventures in life. Okay, let's go take a look at what's happening outside of court the other day. Let me pull this up. And this expert says that Karmelo Anthony has a steep climb. Here we go.
It's okay. First degree punishment.
We're gonna stand by ours regardless. This is about race. Because if the shoe was on the other foot, they wouldn't give a damn.
Let me just do this real quick. I want to boost the sound. It's a little low. Just give me a second here. Let's boost the sound.
Wow, those were the chaotic scenes outside of a Texas courthouse this week during the murder trial of Karmelo Anthony. Hello, everyone. This is the second hour of the big weekend show. It is day 3 of the trial of Karmelo Anthony, and he's accused of first-degree murder for the deadly stabbing of fellow 17-year-old high school student Austin Metcalf. Now, the alleged murder occurred at a Texas high school track meet back in 2025. The defense team claims Anthony acted in self-defense, while the state rested its case just moments ago after calling 21 witnesses. We have team coverage with former NYPD Inspector and Attorney Paul Morrow standing by. But first, we go to Brooke Taylor live outside of that courthouse in McKinney, Texas. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, Tommy. Yeah, at the center of the prosecution's case right now are these students that were under the tent. They saw the stabbing and the moments leading up to it. More than 10 of these students and teammates testified in court yesterday and today. Now, many told jurors that they thought it was unusual that Karmelo Anthony, who went to a different school, was under their team's tent. The defense said that Anthony was sheltering from the rain and recognized someone there. Students testified that Austin Metcalf repeatedly asked Anthony to leave. Several recalled Anthony responding, "Touch me and find out." Now, jurors also heard that Metcalf made the first physical contact, but witnesses described it as minor. One called it a soft touch, another described it as a little push. They testified that moments later, Anthony pulled out a 5-inch folding knife from his backpack and stabbed Metcalf in the chest. The defense argues Anthony acted out of self-defense and fear. Now, one of the key witnesses today was a 17-year-old teammate of Metcalf's who was under the tent. He testified that Metcalf tried to avoid a fight, telling Anthony, quote, "Dude, I'm not going to fight you at a track meet." Now, jurors also heard from an 18-year-old witness today. This is important testimony because he knew both Anthony and Metcalf, and he was the student who Anthony was apparently saying hi to. He testified when Austin asked him to leave, quote, "Karmelo said, 'You'll have to move me.' Austin put his hand on his back. I saw Karmelo's hand go in the backpack. We're at a track meet. I wouldn't expect anything to be in there," Karmelo said. "Touch me, you'll have to move me and find out," trying to provoke him. Then what happens, the prosecutor asked. He said Austin puts his hand on him and falls back. How was Austin trying to move him, the prosecutor asked. He responded it was him trying to move him off his seat, a soft shove. The prosecutor then
Not
said,
good.
"What did Austin do?" The witness replied, "I see the hole in his chest and blood." He starts screaming for help. Now, the state's last witness was a medical examiner. The prosecution showed 4 pictures of Metcalf. His family stepped outside the courtroom so that they didn't have to see that. Meanwhile, if convicted of murder, Anthony faces up to life behind bars.
All right, you guys do me a big favor. We have 200 people in this chat right now. Can you do me a favor? Smash the like button. It's free. I would love to get to at least 100 likes on this video so we can get this more out into the algorithm. Smash that like button. Once we do that, if we get to 100 likes, I'm gonna drop some free memberships for you guys. All right, let's do this.
Tommy. Brooke Taylor, thank you so much. Joining us now in studio to break down the latest developments in this trial is former NYPD inspector and attorney, our favorite, Paul Morrow. Paul, I could talk to you about this all day, but I'm very excited to get your take on this. They got 21 witnesses. Right. You've got these witnesses we just heard from Brooke Taylor saying that if Austin Metcalf touched him, it was a soft shove saying, "Hey, get out of our tent." Then you have, of course, the stabbing that led to the death of Austin Metcalf. How do you break this down? And second question, how does race play into this? Because the folks outside really want to make this about race. I'm not so sure that factors in legally, though.
No, legally, of course, race shouldn't factor into it, but let's be honest, it's going to be a factor if anybody is so inclined in the jury to listen to people that are trying to foment that attitude outside the courtroom. And if they can hear the noise, we've seen that so often here in Lower Manhattan, and to ignore it is naive. Let's review the facts as we know them, right? Not the testimony, the facts. Number one, Karmelo Anthony is in the opposing team's tent for no good reason. Number two, he's armed with a knife. All right, those are not in dispute. Those are facts. Then we get the testimony. He's there. He's asked to leave. He doesn't want to leave. He says, "Touch me, you'll find out." According to the testimony, then Austin Metcalf puts a hand on him, gently shoves him, and then he reacts, reaches in, pulls out this knife. Why he had a knife at a track meet is going to be a big issue, I'm sure, going forward as we get to the defense and then, of course, the closing arguments. The action in this is going to come down to 2 areas. Number one, under Texas law, you can't provoke an incident and then claim self-defense.
We just talked about this. I literally just read this. I literally just read the Texas law. And I'm glad that this attorney is reiterating this because I think people get lost in this fact. You know, you can't just go in and go, "Touch me and see what happens" 5 times as you're holding onto a knife inside a backpack. You're waiting for something to happen, and then you're going to plunge a knife into someone's heart. I'm so glad he's touching on this subject right now. It doesn't work that way. That's something that people just keep forgetting about in this.
That's why I went into that recounting of the facts. He's in the tent, and then he won't leave, even after being asked numerous times. And he's from the opposing team, and supposedly they are strategizing how they're going to run the track meet, and so they want him out of the tent. And then the other thing is that your response, if you are threatened with force in Texas, is that your response has to be, quote unquote, reasonable. Even under the opening argument that his attorney made, which articulates the idea that Metcalf and his brother had sort of surrounded Karmelo, that doesn't, to me, rise to the level of pulling a knife and sticking it in somebody's chest. So I am hard-pressed here to see where they're going to go. They must have some really, really compelling witnesses on the defense side, because as of now, I don't see why they even went to trial.
Wow.
Paul, I find this case sad and disturbing, but also fascinating, because I have, you know, if you've ever been in the state of Texas, at least until recently, I know constitutional carry is a different thing, but to get your carry license, you have to take classes on what the self-defense laws are in the state of Texas. I think every state should do it, but I think it's really educational. And you learn the Castle Doctrine. You learn why Texas is viewed as a state that allows you to defend yourself in situations even other states don't. Sure. But there are certain things that are consistent that you have to fear for your life, or you know, and there's, you know, the opportunity to, or your property. So I want to, you know, take all subjectivity out of this and look at this and say, okay, if I want Karmelo Anthony to get off on this charge, if I want to put myself in his shoes and make myself believe that he was justified under this more loose stand your ground law in Texas, I don't know how you get there. How does the defense get there?
Thank you.
You know, to me, it's going to be a pretty steep climb. I think what you likely will have to get from them is some sort of articulation that he was in genuine fear for his life.
Exactly.
Because he had to reach for a knife, that's bad enough, but then he stabs Austin in the heart, right in the chest. I mean, you know, any 5-year-old knows that's likely going to be fatal. Now, there is reporting from the police report that Karmelo's response was, he's not going to die. One of the cops says to him, you know, if he dies, your life has changed significantly, kid. And he says, he's not going to die. He was actually kind of casual about it. I don't think he quite realized what he did. So maybe he's going to say, hey, look, I didn't mean to kill him. It's going to be some sort of intent issue here. But he also made other statements that I think are going to cut against him. Like, for instance, he didn't say he threatened my life. I was terrified. He said he put his hands on me. Yeah. That's all he said.
Yeah,
that's not much
good
of an
either.
articulation of
Does that rate premeditation? If he says, touch me and you'll see what happens?
You know, in this, you know, premeditation is much debated in law. Like, there are instances where people say it can be literally a second or two. But in this case, it really doesn't matter. The way Texas law is constructed, you have capital murder. That is, if you are going to be put on death row, and that has a specific set of circumstances that are not present here. Killing a witness, multiple victims, killing a cop. Same thing in New York. But furthermore, he was 17 at the time of the crime. Even if he did qualify for the death penalty under the Supreme Court decision, he doesn't get it. So the most he's looking at is 99 years.
Paul, I want to ask you about the jury selection process. There was a report last week that there were 3 black jurors who were removed by the prosecution, and the defense objected to that, claiming that it was racially motivated. However, the prosecution came back and said, no, it was because they were teachers. And at least one of them was on record apparently saying that he would have had a very difficult time voting to convict because Karmelo looked like just a kid. Give us your...
Yep, that's true. Space, thank you so much. Appreciate you having the conversation. It's the most responsible thing we can do in these moments. Rearm Americans, end weapon ban culture. Thank you so much, Space. I appreciate the 5. All right. Thank you, Kelly. A lot of new faces here. I love this. Love seeing a lot of the new faces. If you haven't subbed up, please sub up. Make sure to smash that like button. When we get to 100 likes, I'm gonna drop some free memberships for you guys, and then you can go see all my members only content on my homepage. You slide all the way down and you get all the members only content. All right, we're gonna get through the rest of this, and then I want to go to Sarah Fields. She's been dropping a lot of videos tonight. I want to catch up what she's been seeing in court and outside of court. All right, here we go.
Read on that.
Yeah, so you knew in this case, as we've seen in so many cases, that there was going to be a lot of scrutiny on the jurors, right? And in this case, you're 100% right. They had 3 female black teachers who were the only African Americans apparently in the jury pool that made it to that point. The prosecution used their exemption right to eliminate those 3. The defense objected. The judge sided with the prosecution. But you're 100% right to focus on that why, because that is almost certainly going to be an area of appeal. And, you know, I've seen it speculated online. I don't know that they would be this cute by half because you're playing with a young man's life here. But I've seen speculation where people have said things like, did the defense game that out, knowing that they would like, because what the prosecution used to get rid of those three was not, well, they're black, you can't do that. You can't do it on the basis of race. They did it saying they're teachers. And this was a student. And for the reasons that you said, they'd have a hard time being objective. That character.
And you know, just to put this on the record, it's not an all-white jury. It's not an all-white jury. All right, you guys delivered. I promised. Let's drop some free memberships. 5 memberships incoming. Let's do it. And if anybody wants to match me, come on. Let's see the match. Here we go. 5 incoming, 5 new members. Enjoy 1 month on me for free. And at the end of the gifted month, you can re-sign up just for $1.99, just for $1.99 a month. And that supports my channel. So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jenny, D-Mart, Marie, DB Marie. We got Manica. Let's see, Lindsay is a new member. No, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Where's the other one? Burning Queen, new member as well, too. All right. You're welcome. And all you got to do is go on my homepage, scroll all the way to down, and you get all my members only content. I owe you guys a members only stream. I've been saying that, and we need to do that. We really need to do that. It's kind of where we just kind of hang out. It's fun. All right, here we go.
Today. So is it possible that they're actually playing for that appeal? I'd be very surprised. I think that, as I said, that's too cute by half. But nonetheless, that is going to be an issue. The jury selection in this thing, of course, was crucial. I don't know the rest of the composition of the jury, but I do know that there are no other African Americans.
Well, I keep going back to the why question in terms of why would somebody bring a knife to a track meet in broad daylight? It reminds me of a certain parallel to a certain extent. Alex Preddy up in Minneapolis, where why would you bring a gun to an ice staging area when you provoked ice in the past and expect that something bad could not happen? So will that be coming into play as well in terms of why, not premeditated so much, but why have a knife on you in the first place where you're not going out at night somewhere in a dangerous area? You're in Frisco, Texas, which is a very affluent town, one of the fastest growing cities in the country. The why keeps coming back to me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's going to go to the idea that, first of all, he was in violation of the school rules themselves. The school apparently has a very strict rule about bringing any weapons onto school grounds. So he did that at the opposing school, and then he brings that weapon into the tent. And I think that's going to go very strongly when the prosecutor buttons up his argument at closing that, look, he has this knife on him. He's not supposed to have it. He goes across to the opposing team's tent, sits himself down, and won't leave even after multiple witnesses have now said he was told to leave. So as I was saying here to Joey, the idea here that they're going to somehow or other conjure some circumstances where the stabbing to the chest under those circumstances is going to be somehow considered reasonable really feels like a steep climb to me. They must really have something loaded up. But you know what? There's a larger why. And that's the part that I think that Joey was talking about the whole thing being sad, too. This kid, Karmelo, had never been in trouble. He was a good student. Apparently, he had worked out, so he was a winner. And, why take the knife? Why go look in? Because from where I sit, the whole thing was pointed.
That's why you have to sit here and go, where in his path over this last, I don't know, couple of months, a year or something, or week, or we don't know, where did that go wrong? What influenced him to do this and think this was the right thing to do? Is this a conversation he's having with friends? Is this something that he saw on the internet? Is a movie that he watched? What influenced him to do this? It's somewhere along the developmental path here in a week, a month, a year, whatever it is, something caused him to do this and thought that it was right. Okay, here we go.
It does feel like a provocation. It's the last thing this kid needed as he's ending his school years and going on.
So Karmelo's character matters here then.
It feels that way.
Sure. Okay. Maybe at least in sentencing. All right.
Let's go to, I'm going to jump up. Again, if you haven't smashed the like button, please do. I want to get to Sarah Fields because she's dropping videos like cray cray right now, and I want to hear what she has to say in her reporting. So let's do this. All right, Sarah Fields is an independent journalist. I've been following her on X through this entire trial. She's been covering it through this entire trial since day one, really. And let's see what she has to say. She's been inside the courtroom. Here we go.
All right, everyone. It is Sunday, June 7th. I am in a safe place, and that is all I'm going to share about.
And just to give on record, she has been vehemently harassed outside the courthouse. She's literally had to have someone be there armed to protect her. So it's been pretty crazy ride for her. She's been harassed. She's been threatened. She's had death threats because she did a lot of exposing to Dominique Alexander. And that became a huge problem for her. And as we know, Dominique Alexander's a baby shaker. I mean, he shook a baby. He was the representative for the Karmelo Anthony camp. And what we know is he is a legitimate baby shaker. It's in court documents. He's assaulted women, and she exposed a lot of this about him. And after that exposure, she started getting death threats. She started getting harassed. And yeah, it's been pretty crazy ride for her, but it's not going to stop her journalism. Shit like that is not going to stop her journalism. Absolutely not. She's going to keep telling it like it is. All right, here we go.
Where I am right now. Myself and let's just say some of my friends will be there Monday morning so that I can continue doing my job and getting into the courtroom and reporting on this case. I have so far every single day, except one day I missed a couple hours right before lunch, but I think that was Thursday. But so far every day I have been in that courtroom. And I'm going to go ahead and share my update about what happened on Saturday, June 6th with all of you. I also just kind of want to make it clear that there are a lot of people making up a lot of narratives about me right now. I've heard things like I am the secretary for the Proud Boys. That is a lie. People are spreading rumors about my past. That is not true. People are re-spreading the rumors that Charleston White started, which is crazy because he's already been sued in civil court and he lost. So you might want to be careful with some of the stuff that you're spreading around about me.
Sarah doesn't fuck around. She sues people. God bless.
In case you want to lose in civil court as well. Let me think what else. There is a particular person who continues to post about me over and over again. Someone has stated that I recorded her in her car. That's a lie. Someone stated that we've been harassing and stalking and threatening her. That's a lie. I want nothing to do with her. I don't care about her. I'm here to do a job, and
So this is Sarah Fields. You can find her on X as Sarah is censored, and I'll drop her hashtag here. I've been following her through this entire trial.
He has somehow brought me into, I don't know, I feel like it's main character syndrome. She has main character syndrome. That's a good way to put it. So I will no longer be responding to this individual unless she absolutely continues to come after me and make up lies about me, and then I will be getting my attorney involved. So that's that. So let's get into June 6th. June 6th, an individual was called to the stand. I will not be identifying this witness because this witness was a minor. Also, by the way, I have all my notes here, as well as notation from the individual that goes by Dark Horse. These are live updates that were provided by NBC that Dark Horse put into a transcript. And so far, I've looked at it and it does align with my notes and it is very accurate. So I'm going to be using this mixed with the notes that I wrote that day. I'm very detailed. As you see, this is all from the past week. So I'm just a very detailed person. This will probably eventually turn into a book one day, or we'll go into a book that
Wow, that's great. Good for her.
Plan on writing.
Good for her.
So this first witness called by the prosecution was a Memorial High School student. His coach was Coach Starr, and he rode the bus that day. Prosecutor Bill Werski, which, by the way, Bill Werski, so far what I have seen, he's incredible. He's an incredible prosecutor. He is a beast. He is amazing at what he does. Very, very smart man. He asked the witness if he was aware that weapons are not allowed at school events, and the witness said he was absolutely aware. He said he rode the bus. It was not raining when they got there. He said that he was under the tent. He said that when he got there, he was looking around to find someone to talk to. He said that he only had a few teammates that were inside the tent, and some of them were on their phones. He said that at one point he saw someone he did not recognize and asked his teammates if he knew him.
Real quick, just want to get this $10 super chat. Thank you, Britt. Appreciate you. Said Sarah Fields won't back down or be intimidated. And I agree. She's going to stand her ground there. She's going to do reporting. She has every right to be there as a journalist, no matter what side anybody stands on. She has every right to be there. She should not be threatened because of the pen. Because of the pen, they are threatening her. They are trying to intimidate her. They're trying to attack her. There was a situation out there on Saturday where she was confronted by someone that was armed because of the pen. And they always do say, what? This is what? Much mightier than the sword. Much mightier than the sword. All right, here we go.
And this individual is now who we know is Karmelo Anthony. He said that it threw him off because Karmelo Anthony was not wearing any athletic gear. He said that Karmelo sat underneath the tent, and he said he wasn't really worried about Karmelo's presence at that time. He then said at one point that he saw Karmelo and Austin stand up. He saw Austin put his hand on Karmelo's shoulder, followed by a bunch of yelling. He then said that he heard Austin screaming, "He stabbed me," and he heard Hunter scream, "He got stabbed." And then when he was asked about the shove on the shoulder, he described it as a firm push. He said that he had heard Austin and Karmelo arguing, but he wouldn't say that anyone's demeanor was angry or aggressive. Bill Werski asked if Austin was responding to being provoked, and he said yes, he put his hand on his shoulder. He said that he then saw Hunter run after Karmelo, but came back down and tried to help Austin. He said that he did not see Hunter interact with Karmelo during the original altercation at all. He said, quote, "You do not expect someone to get stabbed at a track meet." And a lot of the witnesses have said this because they honestly thought that Karmelo was bluffing when he put his hand in the bag. They didn't think he had anything in there. He said that he saw Karmelo run up the bleachers and tried to run out of the stadium. Karmelo never left the stadium, by the way. He said he was afraid that he was going to stab others and that he was running away with another female student because she was scared. When he was asked about whether he thought that this was self-defense, he said no, and I quote, "It was lethal force against non-lethal." This witness in particular said that the encounter was still very hard for him to talk about. He said that he was in counseling.
Wow.
He said that Karmelo provoked Austin and that the stabbing was not done in self-defense. He was then cross-examined by Karmelo's defense attorney, Toby Shook, and Toby Shook brought out a transcript of when he had done an interview with detectives, and he pointed out that this same person said that Karmelo had gone into a tent on previous occasions, but he said he doesn't remember saying that, but what he meant to say is that he's passed by the tent and said hi before, which is okay to do. It's just not okay to sit and hang out underneath another team's tent. He also testified that when after everything happened, they ran back to the bus. He was there with his fellow students waiting on the bus, and that while they were on the bus, they were trying to figure out who Karmelo was, and that they had found a picture on Instagram of Karmelo. And he explained that they were passing around a phone with an Instagram photo of Karmelo.
So that's all playing out in real time. That's all playing out in real time in that moment. Trying to figure out who this guy is. They pull up Instagram, they find a photo, and they're passing around the phone. Interesting.
He was also asked if he remembered that he had said that Hunter had popped in to defend Austin, he said he did remember saying that, but he could not remember what Hunter said. He did also make it clear that Austin was a much bigger person. I believe he said substantially bigger than his own brother, but that he was also bigger than Karmelo, and that he could look intimidating if someone, didn't know him. Then the prosecution called in another student witness. This was also a minor, so I can't share this person's name. He was on the same football team, and he said he considered Austin to be like a big brother to him. He said he rode a bus from Memorial that morning. He said the weather was cloudy. He said that there were males and females underneath the tent. Said a kid from Centennial came and sat underneath the tent. He said at one point they told Karmelo that it was not raining and that he did not need to be underneath the tent anymore. But Karmelo refused to leave. He said that Karmelo then got irritated and said, "Touch me and see what happens."
And that was
Yet
5
again,
times.
he's another.
That's been reported 5 times. Oh, look at this. This is a familiar face here. Haven't seen this face in a while. Welcome back. Nice to see you. We got to catch up, by the way. I know it's been a long time, and we got to catch up, but it's nice to see you, Lauren. All right, let's play here, and then we'll go to part 2.
Witness who said that Karmelo instigated the altercation, and just like all the other witnesses, said that he thought Karmelo was bluffing when he put his hand in the backpack because, quote, "It's a high school track meet and you're not supposed to bring in anything, aka weapons." He said that Austin pushed him. He then saw Austin. He apparently he missed the stabbing. He saw Austin with blood on his chest and that Austin was falling down the bleachers. He said Austin said, "I've been stabbed." And Hunter was screaming that he had a knife and to run. This witness in particular told the jury that everyone was crying because they couldn't believe what happened. And when they got back to the bus, he said that a friend of Karmelo's, this friend that has been referred to several times that apparently Karmelo sat under the tent with, and they dapped up. I've reported that in my prior videos, was there. And he had asked him how he knew Karmelo. I guess they were just friends. He also.
And that friend, the mutual friend, actually burned the defense too. What he said, and I'm sure Sarah is going to talk about this here in a second. His testimony was not good for the defense either.
Was asked if this was done in self-defense, and the witness said no, he committed murder. And then that was that for that witness. And then the prosecution called in another witness that was a minor. And I'm going to continue to. This witness's testimony was very interesting and very detailed. So please watch the second video.
Okay, let me go find that. Hang on. Let's bounce down here in the thread. Part 2 of the thread. Okay, hang on.
Which would have been yesterday, June.
All right, let me pull this up. Back to Sarah Fields, her reporting. Let's listen.
Okay, part 2 of the Saturday trial day, which would have been yesterday, June 6th, of the Karmelo Anthony case trial. I was in the courtroom. I forgot to talk about this in the first video, but just to give y'all an idea of where I was sitting, because this is going to be important for you to remember later. In this courtroom in particular, in this court day in particular, you have the full gallery, and then you have the jury, and then you have the judge over here, and the witness stand directly in the middle. Once you walk into the room, was on the very far left of the gallery. So I'm literally sitting directly in front of where the jury is. So anything shown to the jury by the prosecution or by the defense, I could see it, because here's the jury, and then here's where I'm sitting directly next to the jury in the gallery. So I'm literally facing the jury while they're facing the judge and the rest of the courtroom. And so if any pictures or anything were shown to them, any graphics or anything like that, I was able to see what they saw. Okay, moving on. The next witness that was called, this might have been the craziest and the most detailed I listened to. I mean, you got There were over 20 witnesses called. This one was most certainly the most interesting for sure. This individual, again, is a minor. He told the jury that he plays soccer. Also, shout out again, I have transcripts here, NBC transcripts that are very detailed, as well as my notes because I write down a lot. Shout out to Dark Horse, who was able to get.
Lauren checking in. She said, look at this 19-month member. 19-month member. I appreciate you being here. Can we get one more super chat to reach the goal? I really would love that. Lauren's actually a really good friend of mine. Kind of been out of touch for a little while. Life just kind of gets in the way sometimes. We just kind of do our own things. And it's really nice to see her in the chat. I've missed her terribly. And we got to reach out and catch up soon. I got next weekend off if you're around, by the way. Lauren, you didn't have to do that. Thank you so much. $10 super chat. Appreciate you. Love you to death. You're like one of my best friends. And it's nice to see you here in the chat. All right. Let's keep playing.
Get a hold of these NBC
Thank you.
Live updates and put them into a transcript. Okay. So this witness said that he was, he played soccer and that he had tickets to the upcoming Japan versus Sweden game. He was clearly excited about that. He was asked who he would be rooting for, and he said Portugal, which made everybody laugh. He told the prosecution that he wasn't really friends with Austin or Hunter. He said that he runs track and was at the meet on April 2nd to run the 800 and the 1600. He said that while he was under the memorial tent at the track meet, Karmelo Anthony sat right next to him and looked at him and said, what crazy weather. And of course, he was referring to the fact that it had been raining off and on all morning. He said he thought that was strange because he didn't understand why he was sitting there when each team had its own tent, which, again, please make sure you understand this is what the witnesses said. This is not my opinions. This is based on what it was stated, quoted from the witnesses in their testimony. He said that he was sitting under the tent and was talking to someone when he said that a fellow student looked at Karmelo and said, "Who's this guy?" And apparently Karmelo responded and said, "I'm a nobody." And then he testified and said that another student said, "Well, if you're a nobody, you can get out from underneath this tent." To which Karmelo responded and said, "I'm not effing leaving." Except he didn't said effing. I just really hate using that word, but he said, "I'm not effing leaving." And then he said Karmelo began to get more aggressive as people told him to leave. And then an individual who, I think this witness was a minor, so I'm not going to say the name, again said, "If you're nobody, you can leave." And he said, "I'm not leaving, F y'all." He said, "F y'all, I'm not going to leave, y'all a bunch of pussies, y'all not going to do anything." He said he wasn't really worried about this because he felt like it was just tough talk. And he didn't really feel like he had reason to worry at this point. He said it was at this point that Austin said, "Bro, you can just leave. Nobody wants you here."
It is the granny.
Or excuse me, "We don't want you here." This is when Karmelo reached into his bag, put his hand in the bag, and said multiple times, "Touch me and see what happens." It was at this time that he said Austin seems pretty calm about the matter and told Karmelo that he did not want to fight. This witness described this as disrespectful. He said this was disrespectful to do under another team's tent. He said Austin said, "I'm not going to fight you at a track meet, bro." Then he said Austin pushed him, and then he said he effing stabbed me and lifted his shirt, and he said he saw a large hole with lots of blood. At this point, quite a few people were crying in the courtroom. Megan Metcalf was crying. He said that he remembered that other students said that Austin looked dead. He said Austin did not deserve what happened. Worski said it was murder, wasn't it? And he said, "Yes, sir." He was cross-examined by the defense, and he reiterated that Karmelo was swearing and saying "F you guys" when he was confronted. He told the jury that Austin did not step up when he pushed when he pushed Karmelo, and that he just turned around in the same row. And then it was at this time that they took a brief recess. The next witness was Karmelo's friend. This was a pretty big witness. A lot of people were waiting to hear from this individual because, again, this person was identified as someone who was a friend of Karmelo's. I'm not going to say the name because I do believe he is a minor, but apparently he knew Austin and Hunter. He said that Austin was like a brother to him. He said that he knew Melo because he was friends with Melo's, excuse me, and he's calling him Melo. Well, actually, let me back up for a minute. He used to call him Melo. While he was testifying yesterday, he referred to Melo as Karmelo instead. I thought that was interesting, just a little psychology there. But he referred to him as Karmelo. And he said that the reason he knew Melo because he was friends with Karmelo's ex-girlfriend. He said he took the bus that day. He said that he sat towards the back of the tent. Worski did say at one point that, you're kind of unique. You're a unique witness because you are kind of the common denominator between Karmelo and Memorial High School. And the witness, recognized that he understood this. He also said that he had not spoken to Karmelo since Austin's death. He told the jury.
If you're just coming in, what we're listening to is independent journalist, reporter Sarah Field. She's been in the courtroom ever since the trial has started, and she's been following this case pretty much ever since it broke. So we're just listening to her notes because obviously we can't hear testimony. So she's just going over what she has seen in court. And really, a lot of what I'm hearing is corroborating with a lot of the other reports of journalists that I've that I've used their reports. JD Miles from ABC, CBS News, Marianne Martinez from the Daily Mail, and I've been following Sarah Fields, and it's all lining up. I mean, it's what everybody's reporting has been pretty spot on. I haven't really heard any deviation. All right, here we go.
That he didn't really notice Karmelo when he first got there, but when he did, he dapped him up. And then he said he didn't really care that he was there at that moment. And then he said that they didn't talk very much, but he started to pay attention when Austin said, "Who are you? You need to get out of the tent." Then, according to him, Karmelo replied, "You got to move me. You got to move me." And then called Austin a bitch or whatever. He said he didn't remember any other bad words that were used, but he does remember that Austin also cursed. He did say that when Karmelo said, "You got to move me, you got to move me, you're a bitch," he was getting more angry, and his tone clearly showed signs of anger. He said that Austin was always trying to lead and defend, and then he said that Austin got up, and then Karmelo's hand immediately went into the bag. He said that he felt like it was a bluff. He didn't really feel like there was anything in there. They all.
I just saw this report. Let's see. I want to get to this. Someone just put in breaking. 3 people reportedly stabbed at Penn Station, New York. I just checked on it. I do see a report. Suspect in custody after 6 people injured in Midtown Manhattan stabbing. So and I'm seeing reports also 5 people stabbed inside Penn Station. Suspect arrested. So they do have the suspect. That's good to know. Awesome. Thank you for letting us know, and thank you for letting me get that on air. All right, here we go. Sarah Fields.
And then he said, Karmelo said, "Touch me and you'll see." He said in his opinion, he invited Austin to touch him when he said, "You'll have to move me." He said that Austin then fell back after he tried to softly shove Karmelo away. He saw Austin fall. He saw Austin grab his chest, and Austin said, "Help, I've been stabbed." It was at this point that this witness in particular, who again, at one point was someone that was referred to as Karmelo's friend, he began to cry very hard on the stand. It was heartbreaking to see him crying on the stand, and there was a pause for a while. He was then asked about the interaction that involved Hunter, and Austin said that you don't have anything when he put his hand in the bag. And he said, Hunter said, "You don't have anything in there. Don't pretend you have anything." But he also said that Hunter had stayed seated. He also stated that at one point during this interaction, he pulled out his phone and acted like he was recording because he thought the situation was funny. At the time, again, they were not expecting what happened. They didn't think he actually had anything in the bag. He didn't expect a murder to take place. So kids being kids, I'm inserting my opinion here. I have teenage boys. I have a teenage boy. I know how they behave. Taking out your phone, going, "Oh, look at this." I've seen them do things like this, and that's what it sounds like he was doing.
Yeah, 100%.
But he said he acted like he was recording because he thought it was funny. Follow me for part 3.
All right, we'll go to part 3, and I appreciate everybody being here. If you're new here, make sure to smash the like button. Also subscribe, turn on those bell notifications. I would appreciate it. We're going to go to part 3, Sarah Fields.
Okay, part 2 of...
let's see. Sarah Fields has been inside the courtroom reporting on the Karmelo Anthony case. All right, part 3, and thank you all so much for being here. Got about 293 people in the room. This is the proportionate to likes. It's just not good. We got to do better than that. Smash that like button. It's free to do it. It's free to do it, everybody. All right, here we go.
Part 3, we're continuing to talk about the witness who was an associate, or whatever you want to call it, a friend of Karmelo's. Even though he said that he really just knew Karmelo because he was friends with Karmelo's ex-girlfriend, who was his girlfriend at the time. So after he talked about how he pretended to record the incident, he also said, Wursco asked him, "Were you angry with Karmelo?" And he said that he was. And he said, quote, "That was my brother. That was my brother that got stabbed." During
Britt, I will be covering it. So I'm going to do as much as I can. I'm going to probably tell you this. Thursday night, I probably will. It'll be a later stream, but I already have my streams. They're going to be at 8:15. The Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 8:15. We will start covering it at 8:15 at night. I've been on a very long staycation for the last couple of weeks. I had a lot of vacation time banked up, so I used it, and I'm actually heading back to my real day job tomorrow. So my plan is to come home, do some investigative work for recapping, and then we'll recap every night at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on LTL Media. The only day it might be a little hard to do it is Thursday, but I'm going to try my best to do it every day this week and get you guys in the pocket and up to date. All right, let's go back to Sarah.
Examination, something very interesting also came up because he made it clear that during his interaction with Karmelo at the track meet, when Karmelo first sat there, he said that Karmelo said something like, "Y'all are bad, y'all are ass." And he was referring to the team. He was referring to Memorial's football team, because they were talking about football. They were joking around about football. And that's when Karmelo interjected himself and said, "Y'all are bad, y'all are ass." And that is definitely something that got a lot of people's attention. We then recessed for lunch. And when we came back from lunch at 12:45, that witness was still on the stand. He said that he really didn't know how bad it was until Austin pulled up his shirt. He thought it was a shove met with a shove. He didn't realize that Austin had been stabbed. He said that Hunter immediately went to go get Austin. He said he ran to Coach Lou. He said he couldn't find the coach, and then he went back. He saw the coach that had taken off his jacket. And then he jumped the fence, and he said that one coach grabbed him and said, you can't, because apparently he was trying to run after Karmelo. And apparently he was crying and saying, that was my brother that got stabbed. He said he saw several paramedics arrive. He apparently gave the officers an interview in the locker room with Hunter. Hunter could not speak at the time. He talked to a second officer at the physical therapy center, Officer Riley, who was a psychologist. He said that they did take his phone. It was verified that he did not record anything. The only thing that had happened was he had sent a message to a friend and said, Austin got stabbed. he did say that looking back, he does wish that he did not pretend to film it. He was asked, "Is this about race?" And he said no. He said Austin was a leader and he protected us. I'm going to go ahead and make it clear right now that a large majority of these witnesses are not white. So I'll let you come to your own conclusions about that. He was then cross-examined by Shook. It was already known that this person was close with Karmelo Anthony's girlfriend at the time. He referred to her as his cousin, and apparently their mothers are good friends. This kind of became almost aggressive because I don't even need to really go over all of this, but Shook continuously kept bringing up pictures, I assume from social media, showing this kid and Karmelo hanging out together either at his house or at a party or whatever. It was also something that needed to be noted is that in the majority of the pictures was Karmelo Anthony's girlfriend as well. So it became obvious that he was hanging out with this girl that he's obviously close to, refers to her as his cousin, and Karmelo is her boyfriend. So of course he's going to be there as well. There was an incident. There was apparently an incident where they were hanging out together, roasting marshmallows. He said he doesn't remember much of it. It was, excuse me, it was already determined that they knew each other. Why this was significant, I don't understand. Worski, the prosecution, could be seen shaking his head repeatedly, like, this is so irrelevant, it doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure that's what was going through his head. And he almost seemed, Toby Shook seemed like he was trying to rattle this witness. He said, "You knew Karmelo a lot more than you're telling this jury." And the witness explained that he and Karmelo only hung out because they were hanging around Carmelo's girlfriend's family. Toby Shook said, "Do you remember saying anything to your team or Karmelo?" And he said, "I didn't remember. I don't remember." He said, "You didn't think to step up and say, 'Hey, I know this guy.'" And the witness said he did not say he knew Karmelo because he didn't feel like he needed to. He said he felt like the conversation with the other teammates regarding who Karmelo was and why he was there was a normal thing. He said Karmelo did call Austin a bitch, and he called him a bitch back. And it was at that point that Karmelo put his hand in the bag. They then did a demonstration because he said, "Do you remember telling detectives that when Austin went to shove Karmelo, he kind of pushed you back?" And I said, "I don't remember." The witness said, "I don't remember saying that." He said, "Do you remember telling officers that when Austin pushed Karmelo, you didn't see where he..."
Yeah, sure. Death Valley's asking, what's the reporter's name? Her name is Sarah Fields. And what I'm going to do is when we finish up listening to her reports, she's on X, she's on Facebook. You can follow her there. I don't think she has a YouTube channel, but she's just mostly on Facebook and X. And I'll drop her links before we go so you guys can follow along. And of course, every night at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this week, I'm going to do recaps for you guys. And if you haven't seen any of my previous shows, I urge you to go back. They've been really good and very thorough. All right, let's finish up here.
Grabbed him. The witness said that was correct. And he had him demonstrate of the push again. And this has been demonstrated by other witnesses before. And he just demonstrated, and he said it wasn't that hard. It was like a small shove. And then this part. And if this doesn't make you angry, because this made me angry, I don't know what will. But it was then around this time that Toby Shook looked at this witness and said, and asked him, why were you filming or pretending to film it? Why didn't you film it? Why were you pretending? And he was trying to explain, I don't know, I was just joking around. I was trying to be funny, and the defense said, quote, "If you had been filming, we would actually be able to know what happened and what was said, wouldn't we?" This made a lot of people angry. There were a lot of people who gasped. You could hear it in the gallery. It genuinely made a lot of people angry because it sounded like he was calling him a liar. And I'm not going to hold back here. This was a shitty thing to say to a kid on a witness stand. This kid was nervous. He had already been bawling his eyes out. He's holding a ball to keep himself occupied. You know, he's holding a ball and an anxiety ball. And to say something like this to a kid and make him feel guilty about something that he probably already.
So I want to just go to this. So Anvil says he touched him when he shouldn't have. But here's the thing, and I urge you to go back and listen to the law. And I know people are just going to go, fuck the law. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anvil, I just want to let you know, it's got to be equal force. Just because someone comes up to you and goes like this on your shoulder and may push you back doesn't give you the right to pull out a knife and plunge it into their heart. Let's just put you in that scenario, okay? If you're in a bar room and you push someone, does that give them a right to pull out their knife and plunge it into your heart? Think about that. Think about that. No, just reasonably think about that, okay? Reasonably think about that. Does that give them the right for you to have a knife plunged into your heart? So you're in a bar, a little tussle back and forth. You push him, and the person pulls on a knife and instantly plunges it into your heart. Please answer in the chat.
Felt guilty about was a shitty thing to do. Pretty sure he knew it was shitty, so he was pretty done with that witness after that. Then the state called another witness, and this was another minor, to the stand. I believe this was the 21st witness, and this was the last witness that was underneath the tent that day. He said that he was a linebacker and he did track with the Metcalf twins. His events were shot put and discus. He said that he had headphones on and was listening to music. And then he heard everyone telling Karmelo to leave. He said he heard Karmelo say, "Touch me and see what happens." And he put his hand in the backpack. He thought he was bluffing. He said that Karmelo challenged Austin to a fist fight. And that Austin said, quote, "I won't fight you at a track meet, bro." This was the third or fourth time that this has been confirmed that Austin said this. He then did not take this seriously. He didn't think anything bad would happen. He said he turned back around and put his headphones back into his ears. And then all of a sudden he heard screams and he heard Austin say, "He stabbed me, he stabbed me, he stabbed me." And then he could see the coach holding Hunter back. Austin went down to the ground and had stood back up, put his back to a fence. He said that Hunter wanted to confront Karmelo. He then said Austin fell. Austin's face turned purple. And then he said that he himself had to be pulled from Austin.
Damn.
Because he was trying to grab Austin as well to help him. But he had to be pulled from Austin when they were trying to work on him. And then
I don't know what this means. He says, you YTs have a history of violence. Can you just explain what YT is? Just let us know what you mean by YT. I don't get that, what that is. Okay, here we go.
And he said he went to the bus. It was, I believe, after this. Yes, I believe it was after this witness, according to my notes.
Excuse me.
That the judge had them, the state and the defense come up to him, and they discussed things privately. And then they went back, and we could hear them discussing something like a lot of witnesses. This is taking a long time. This is being prolonged. And understandably, because most of the witnesses had pretty much said the same thing. They then went back to, where they stand, and the judge told the jury, you don't see it yet, you don't know this yet, but things are going to start moving along a little bit faster. And then it was at this point that they called in the medical examiner and advised the family to leave. The next video will be the medical examiner.
Referring to white people. Okay. If that's what you think.
The Saturday trial day.
How many parts did we play? Did we play 3 parts? I lost track. Hang on. Part 1. Part 4. Okay, cool. Here we go. Okay, she's got a couple. She's got 2 more, so we're going to play the 2 more here. We'll time them out.
Elizabeth Ventura. She is the...
It's racist. Time them out. You guys have, my renters have power. Put him in timeout for 10 minutes. If he wants to continue to speak that way after that, then we'll just bounce him out. Like I said, we're going to keep a clean chat here. We can have adult discussions about this. We can have adult discussions about this. All right, part 4. Here we go, Sarah.
Part 4, the medical examiner. The family was advised to leave at this point. The medical examiner, her name was Dr. Elizabeth Ventura. She is the chief medical examiner for Collin County, and it was her job to determine the cause and the manner of death.
All right, real quick, let me just bang this out of the way. $5 super chat. Thank you. Appreciate that. Said the kid made a rash emotional decision without thinking, and his supporters want to call it, quote, self-defense. 2 lives and 2 families ruined. It's so sad. And I agree with that theory. I really do agree with that theory. That's the theme that we've been keeping on this channel while analyzing this trial and giving feedback as to, you know, what's going on inside the courtroom. And I feel like everybody's been doing a great job. Even my people that have come by and stopped by the chat, left comments. We can have adult discussions about this stuff, but we've got to keep it to the law. And again, this can all play out in court, and you might have a way in your head where you think that it's gonna go a way that it's gonna go, and we don't know what that jury's thinking right now. We really don't. It's gonna come down to the jury. They're gonna make their ultimate decision, and we're gonna have to go from there. All right, let's get back to Sarah Fields here and hear her reporting. Independent journalist that's been in the courtroom ever since trial has started. Here we go.
She stated that Austin was 73 inches tall and weighed in at 213 pounds. For the external exam, she stated that when Austin arrived, he was in a hospital gown, and that his hands and his feet were bagged, and that she located a stab wound to the chest. The stab wound was on the left side of the chest. She said that the knife had penetrated the cartilage of the sternum, had penetrated the heart wall, and had penetrated the right ventricle of the heart. She said that the depth of the wound was approximately 2.5 inches front to back, meaning that it was not at in a downward angle or an upward angle, that it was a straight stab front to back wound. She described it as a gaping 2-inch wound, not a slit.
Damn.
It was a gaping oval shape. If you can see there, this is how she...
Oh, wow.
My drawing is terrible, but this is what the wound looked like, left side of the chest. Okay. She said that the wound perforated both the chest bone and the sac that surrounds the heart and penetrated the right ventricle of the heart. Just comparing my notes here with Dark Horse NBC live updates. She said that because the knife wound was through the heart, Ventura said that she removed the heart and studied it. She noted that the wound was oval shaped and 2 inches in length, describing it as gaping, like I just said in my notes here. So this aligns pretty well. There were multiple autopsy photos. State exhibits 80 through 83 and they were admitted into evidence. The defense actually objected to several of the photos of the autopsy, the autopsy photos, but the judge overruled the objection.
What were they objecting to?
Exhibit 80 showed the stab wound to Austin's chest. The jurors definitely reacted emotionally.
I wonder what photos they objected to. Now I'm really curious about that. I'd like to hear more about that. That's really interesting. Really?
They've done a very good job so far not reacting emotionally, but this was very hard. The prosecution asked the medical examiner, "Is this wound survivable?" She said no.
No.
She also said that there were signs of internal bleeding. She was asked by Werski, "Is a knife like this considered a deadly weapon in the state of Texas?" She said yes. She said that according to her office, they had ruled this death as a homicide, which in their office is defined as intentional death of another individual. She was asked if there were defensive wounds. She said no. She was asked, could it be that he did not see this coming? And she said yes. During cross-examination.
Yeah, I've been using CBS News as well. JD Miles is their reporter, and also another reporter to look at is Marianne Martinez. And I'll drop all of their X handles before I leave the live stream tonight, so you guys can follow them if you're on X and follow along. These are the three reporters that I've liked: Marianne Martinez, of course, Sarah Fields, and JD Miles. All right, let's go.
This might have been some of the craziest cross-examination I've ever heard of. But she had explained that the penetration depth of the knife was about 2.5 inches, and the total length of the knife was about 3.5 inches. And then the defense briefly questioned and asked her multiple times, actually, about whether it was possible for Austin to have impaled himself on Karmelo's knife when he pushed Karmelo. She explained that this impaling scenario that he was trying to imply was 1 in 1,000, and that because of the depth of the wound is shorter than its length, that it is unlikely. It was at this point, shocking to all, the prosecution rested. We were not, we literally did not see this coming, but they said they were done. They rested. The defense then moved for a direct verdict because they tried to make the argument that that the state failed to present sufficient evidence and did not prove Karmelo's intent. But Worski said the state had provided every element, and Judge Roach denied the motion. The court took a brief recess. Excuse me. And then the defense decided that they were going to call their first witness, which was a Centennial High track coach. I'm not going to identify who this is, but I have someone that I have been speaking with who goes to Centennial High, and she had told me that this coach was a very laid back coach, not someone who was the same as some of the coaches that are at Memorial. Very, very laid back, just kind of a very chill coach. So to give you an idea of what this person is like. His name was Adam Linwood. He is the football and track coach at Centennial High. He has been there since about 2018 because he said he'd been there for 8 years. So I just estimated 2018. He was asked by the defense, Mike Howard, to describe track culture. He said it was a player-led sport, and he kind of described it as organized chaos. He was asked if he was aware of that time of any players not being allowed to or expected not to go under the team tent, and he said that he was not. He said that he had seen students go into other teams' tents before, just being social, their friends making friends. He said students would mingle in the downtime between events. He said that going into another team's tent is not something that students would be kicked out for, and that he was not aware that other schools had a policy about going into other teams' tents. He did, however, state that since the incident, he said that Centennial's policy has changed since the stabbing, and students must now stay with their teams. A picture was shown in court showing Karmelo Anthony as co-captain of the football team in 2024. Linwood explained that that was when apparently he didn't finish the year, and that was when Karmelo suffered a shoulder injury during the season and had his arm.
Mike, I love hearing that, because you know what that means? That Google has me in the algorithm, and I appreciate Google. Google, thank you so much, but I appreciate it. That's awesome. It's awesome to hear that I'm actually being put out there in the algorithm. So thank you. It's nice to hear that. And I think YouTube is really pushing my channel right now. I've had a lot of response since I've started talking about this case. All right, let's get back to Sarah. We got one more part before we wrap it up. All right, here we go.
Sling, but he was still showing up for practices and for games. He was asked if Centennial had a tent that day. He said that they did not take very many kids to the meet, so they didn't have the manpower to put up both of their tents. He stated that Karmelo's events were early enough in the morning that it made sense for him to be at the meet. He was asked why he didn't have a tent. He said they did, but it had been put on the bus behind them. And he said the bus did not get there on time to put up the tent yet. He did clarify and acknowledge that he knew that there was a no weapons policy at track meets. And he agreed that there was a zero tolerance policy regarding weapons. Worski, during cross-examination, said, "I assume it was shocking to know that one of your athletes stabbed someone in the chest." Worski also made it clear during cross-examination that all coaches have different policies for their teams. He asked the coach, "Wasn't Karmelo supposed to be warming up?" He said, "Yes." "Was he?" He said, "No." "Why did he leave?" "I have no idea." Then he asked him, "What is a cleat sharpener?" And he explained what a cleat sharpener was. And then he showed the knife and he said, "Is this a cleat sharpener?" And he said, "No." And he said, "Is it normal to ask certain students to be a leader?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "For them to act as a coach?" He said, "Yes." That coach then agreed. By the way, still, this is the defense's witness. That coach then agreed that if someone was placed in charge and instructed to make other members of teams leave their tent, that they should comply. He also made it clear that there was no weather delay. The next witness was, his name was Jeremiah. He was a student at Centennial. He was 18.
Thank you, Susie Q. Appreciate you.
So he's not a minor. So I went ahead and said his first name. I think it was Jeremiah Smith. He was also asked about tent policy and track culture, and so on. Worski, upon cross-examination, asked Jeremiah, "If you were asked to leave a tent, would you?" He said, "Yes." "Would you ever bring a knife to a track meet?" "No."
I did see Bakersfield Bank. Let's see, Bakersfield Bank hostages covering how I found you. You were the only one covering. I was like really the only one that was covering that besides the Dad's Gone Live on the ground. Since Dad's Gone Live went on the ground, I was following that stream. That was intense. That Bakersfield coverage was intense. I've never seen anything like literally hostages in a building standing up and signaling to the police. And then obviously the FBI found the guy that was live streaming Dad's Gone Live, but they were cool about it. They were like, "Hey, you can be here. You just can't be zooming in on these people in the building." And thankfully there was a peaceful resolution to that whole situation and scenario. They ultimately did end up taking out the guy that had the bomb inside the bank and saving all the hostages. But that was pretty intense, 24, 36 hours following that. And I had a lot of people that came in and subbed to me from that stream. And, here we are. We're just following along the Karmelo Anthony case now. All right, here we go.
The next witness that the defense called was a memorial student, and I'm not going to share his name because he's a minor. And the next video will probably be my last video update for Saturday. Go ahead and that video will be released in about 30 minutes.
Okay, let's get to part 5, and then we'll finish this up. Again, I want to thank all the new people that have come in and subbed to the channel. Everybody that's been contributing, all my moderators. Nice to see Lauren back here too. It's been quite a while. I get it. Life gets in the way. You don't want to fucking be here and watch me streaming all the time. But Lauren and I are good friends. We hang out in real life offline. We've gotten to know each other. We did a lot of work on the great. That's great. I love the feedback. This is great. Sarah doesn't have a channel. She's on X. I dropped her link, and I'll drop that before I leave again, so you can follow her along. She's a conservative journalist and has been in the courtroom. And this is nice feedback too. Found your channel when I was looking for the trial coverage. Good content. Thank you so much. And this is pretty much the rundown that I do here. I know other people have their styles. They might be, we have fun, we have humor, but I'm very to the point, to the record, to the facts. That's how I like to do my presentations. More like a newscast here. All right. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to part 5. It's getting late here on Sunday. I got to head back to work to my day job tomorrow, but I will be
that
back here tomorrow.
Austin said
8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, doing a full recap of Carmelo Anthony's trial. All right, part 5. We'll finish this up. Looks like a small 5-minute finish up. Here we go.
part 5 in the last video of Saturday's events.
Thank you.
Let's see. This was a minor. This is the last witness of the day. It's a minor, but it's a Memorial High School student. He had taken the SATs that morning. I cannot imagine taking the SATs and then attending a trial in the afternoon, but that's crazy. This witness said that he remembers sitting below the friend of Carmelo's. And then he said that he remembers Hunter saying, "Who are you?" He also made it clear that Austin was much bigger than Hunter. He apparently, according to the defense, said to the detective that Hunter did not tolerate being disrespected. He said that everything happened with a moderate tone. He said that Carmelo was told to leave, and that Carmelo responded with, "No one has a problem with me being here except you," end quote. This witness was asked by Howard if he remembered telling detectives that Austin said, "You need to move before I beat your ass." This witness said, "No, I don't remember saying that." And this was crazy. So the defense quoted this witness for saying, Austin said, "No one has a problem with, you need to move before I beat your ass." And then again, the witness said, "I don't remember saying that." So
I want to correct the record. I think you really need to look at the demographics of the jury, sir or madam. It's not an all-white jury. There are people of color on that jury. So I really would wish the people that think they know, you got to do a little research before you say things. You got to do a little research before you say things, because that's not true. It is a mixed jury. And that shouldn't matter anyway, because fair is fair, wrong is wrong, right is right. That's it. It's what's in here. If you look at the situation and apply it to the law, like we have here that we've read out tonight, the law of Texas of self-defense and murder, okay? When you read out the law and you look at it, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. You have to think and apply it to the law. And that's what this jury should be doing. And that's what this jury should be thinking. And you don't know how this is going to turn out. You don't know how this is going to turn out. You don't know what's in that, what's in those jurors' minds. They still haven't seen all the evidence, but we will find out at the end of the trial when they give their verdict. Okay, here we go.
The defense, Mike Howard, then turned around and found a transcript, brought the transcript to the witness and said, "Here it is right here. Do you want to take a look at it?" He looked at it for a while, and then he said, "Do you remember saying that?" He said, "Yes, but," he said, "but you didn't finish everything that I said. I said he said something like that. I didn't say he said that verbatim." And I don't think Mike Howard expected him to respond that way, but he said, "No, I said something like, you need to move before I beat your ass. I didn't say that it was that verbatim." It was actually verified in the interview transcript that Mike Howard himself showed this witness. It was also something I noted during this interaction between Mike Howard and this witness. This witness himself never really told the story. He didn't give his series of events. It was more like Mike Howard was saying, "You did this then you did this, then you did this, correct? Then you did this." So in my mind, I'm like, who's telling the story here? Who's testifying? Is it the defense or is it the witness? And then Howard said,
"It's very true."
And Mello said, "As long as you don't touch me, we're cool, right?" And I thought this was interesting because, again, inserting my opinion here, I thought this was a weird thing for him to say, "As long as you don't touch me, we're cool." That statement has never been brought up by any other witness at all. Not even anything that sounded like it. "As long as you don't touch me, we're cool." I thought it was very odd for him to say, because the day before, which would have been Friday, I saw a propaganda article pop up on X that said that Karmelo had said, "As long as you don't touch me, we're cool." And I was like, did he just quote an article from yesterday that I saw? That's kind of weird. I don't know. I just thought the whole thing was very strange. I actually commented on it the day before and said, no witness has ever said this. Like, what are you talking about? So I just found that to be very interesting. And I just kind of wanted to input that because it threw me off big time. It was odd. Then Werski cross-examined. Werski said that he talked to this individual's dad on break, asked him if he was nervous. He definitely said he was nervous. This witness said that Austin apparently said, "You've got nothing in there." And he's referring to when he put his hand in the bag. And then he said, "Well, I'm not from Frisco." This is in reference to the fact that some of the witnesses have said that they didn't expect anything to happen because he's from Frisco, because they're from Frisco. And apparently, according to this witness said that Karmelo responded and said, "Well, I'm not from Frisco." He then said that Austin tried to move Karmelo and that it was not scary. He then demonstrated the stab, like many other witnesses had done. He was asked by Werski, was Karmelo in the wrong? And he said yes. The day ended after that. It's going to pick back up again on Monday morning. Hopefully I'll get in. It's a toss-up every time, but we're going to find out. So I will let everybody know Monday morning. Thank you.
All right. Before we go, before you guys run out, just a little bit of housekeeping here. Okay. I just want to show you something on my website, and I want to share something of Sarah so you can support her. Hang on one second here. So via my website here, if you go to the homepage, and that's ltlmedianews.com, all my newest videos will update on the homepage. So if you're missing it here on YouTube, you can catch it there. Also, all my blogs, all my writings here, cases that I support here in the state of Massachusetts. I really want people to look into the Enrique Delgado Garcia case. We just got word about the Chiron Lopes case. There will not be any criminal charges in his case. That's another case that I'm working on and trying to get answers. They're not being transparent about that in the state of Rhode Island. And Enrique Delgado Garcia was a state police recruit that went off to the academy here in the state of Massachusetts and had died at the academy, and four supervisors, state police officers, have been charged in that murder. I've raised multiple and I'm losing my words here. I've raised multiple billboards here in the state of Massachusetts 90 days out because we felt like there were no investigators looking into that case. And finally, something broke, and here we are, 4 state troopers being charged in the death of a recruit, Enrique Delgado Garcia. Also, I want to just mention this. If you go to alerts, the alerts tab, click on this graphic here. If you're not getting my YouTube notifications, you can sign up. You can sign up for alerts, and they're free to do, and you can opt out at any time. I'm going to drop the link for the alerts in the chat, and everybody's running away. Before I go, if you want to help independent journalist Sarah Fields and her friend while they're down there, full disclosure, I donated $100 today. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. She's got to raise funds to be there, security, hotel rooms, whatever it may be, Airbnbs. If you want to help her out, you can do that through Give Send Go. They've raised $3,400 of their goal so far. Let's end the poll that I have up here. Let's take a look at it before we head out. Based on what you've seen so far, I would vote 76% guilty, 13% not guilty, and 11% undecided. We had 238 votes. All right, everybody. I'm going to wrap this one up. It's late here on the Sunday night. I'll be back here live tomorrow, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come join me. Make sure to follow me on all my socials. You can just look me up. I'm on Facebook. I'm on X. Obviously here, the home base on YouTube. And just look up LTL Media. And again, I'll be back here tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to give you guys a wrap up of what happened on day 6. I know it's day 4 of testimony, but day 6 in the Karmelo Anthony trial. Thank you all so much. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Bye, everybody. Get some sleep. Talk to you soon. Peace.